Are you ruthless in your pet business? That's something we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Megan.
I'm Colin.
And we are the hosts of Pet Sitter Confessional, a podcast by pet sitters for pet sitters. So we had an episode this week, 287, with Miguel Rodriguez from City Dog Pack, and he talked about a quote that he heard about being ruthless in your business.
Yeah, and it really struck home for him because before the pandemic, he went out of his way to sacrifice so much for his clients. He limited the amount of growth that his business could have. He really put his clients above his own well-being. Then the pandemic hit, and they stopped using him. And then after the pandemic, they didn't come back. And at the end of the day, he realized it was a business decision for them, and that he had to be ruthless in making business decisions for himself.
Because at the end of the day, it is business. When a client leaves you, it could be financial reasons, it could be anything, but at the end of the day, it is business for them. And just as we are setting policies and procedures in our business, that is business for us as well. It's just a transaction, really. At the end of the day, no matter how much of a personal connection you have developed with your client, it's just a transaction.
Well, and that's hard because this is a personal industry. It is a relational business. We talk about how getting to know the person, that know, like, trust factor is so critical to this industry. So how do we maintain ruthlessness as a business owner, but a personal connection with our clients? And I think the first one is really just to be setting actual boundaries. Set boundaries that work for you, that help you run the business that you actually want to be running. Set boundaries that are going to allow you to have flexibility in your schedule and that protect you. And just setting those, right? Then you know where the limits are and you can really go anywhere in between them, but you know where that line is.
Yeah,
and
whether that's key, drop off, and pickup, charging for that because that is your time.
Yeah, or late payments, early pickups, early drop-offs, whatever that is for you, lock boxes, all sorts of things, you set where you want that line to be, and then you hold to that, right? So the second part of being ruthless in business and working this is then communicating those boundaries and communicating them often and basically constantly. A lot of people ask, well, what do I do? What do I put in my email newsletter? I don't feel like I have a whole lot to write about. These are the perfect places to just slot right in a little blurb about a policy that you want to remind people of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and especially if you have a contract. I know our contract is about 15 pages long, and I would say 99% of the time, no one reads it. And I understand it's very, very long, but it is all the important things that we hold to. We are protecting our business. We are protecting their pets, ultimately. And so that's why we have them sign it. It's these policies and procedures that need to be adhered to in order for us to run our business efficiently and effectively and for us to take the best possible care for their pets.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
And so it is, when you go to write that email newsletter, you have, your contract there, and you can pull out some very specific things from your contract that you want to remind people of. That's also good for if you have a website, putting on your FAQ page the most common things that you really need clients to know, your cancellation policy, which holidays you hold to, your key, drop off and pickup policy, and anything else that you really feel that is very, very important and that clients often forget. Keep reminding them, pick out a few and put them in your email newsletter.
Yeah, it's not just enough to tell somebody at one time, right? As Megan said, our contract is like 15 pages long, and people sign it within seconds of receiving it. So it's physically impossible for them to have read and then memorized and internalized all that stuff. So we have an opportunity to continue to educate people about our business through newsletters, through social media posts, through conversations with them, and reminding them when things come up that we need to take care of that so that we continue to put it into it. So if you have that contract, I would consider really pulling out maybe 10, 15 major items that you want to remind people of on a rolling basis. So let's do 12. So one a month, you're going to remind somebody of it in your newsletter or on social media so that you can continue to keep them at that top of mind for them, right? So we have set the boundaries, we've communicated the boundaries, and then the third part about being ruthless in business, and this is where rubber meets the road, is sticking to the boundaries, right? And actually holding yourself accountable to them. There's no point in having these limits, these lines in the sand out there, if we're not going to hold ourselves and our people and our clients accountable to them.
Well, and it can be hard, as if your client is using you for the first time, you may want to say, hey, I will waive it this time, I'll waive the cancellation fee this time, but, in the future, this is our policy and this what it is. And so we have done that in the past of waiving it for the first time client of, okay, you're coming back early. Our policy is usually, and copy and pasting that of the contract that they had signed, that portion of it, and saying, okay, for the future, this is our policy, but we will waive it this time, because we want the client to keep coming back. But reminding them of, hey, this is what it is, and next time we will be applying this to you.
Yeah, and that's where it's hard for a lot of people of, oh, I really like my client. I don't want to hold their feet to the fire about this policy. I'll just let it slide this time. And then it slides the next time, and then the next time. And then it's a muscle that we stop being able to use effectively of holding people accountable to our policies. And then it's not just the one client, it's 10 clients. And then it's all of our clients that aren't abiding by our policy. And we wonder why we're so stressed out. We're wondering why everybody's having us come and pick up and drop off keys. Well, we've trained them to do that because we didn't stick to what we actually thought was necessary for our business. And that's, I really, that word ruthlessness really kicks in at this point of going, no, it's a cut and dry. It's either yes or a no. And that's what we have it set for, because it's our business.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, if you don't stick up for your own business, nobody else is going to. Your clients are going to say, oh, hey, I remember on page 8 of your contract, it did say that the key, if you drop off a key to me, it's an extra $15.
No.
Nobody's going to say that. Nobody's going to remember that. So you need to stand up for your business.
Yeah.
And then something else Miguel talked about was the 80% rule. So he had said to not really, to just cap yourself at 80% of your clients booking you, because then you have a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, and it's really critical for a lot of different reasons. I think the first one for me is that nobody wants to be operating at 100% all the time. Yeah. That's not healthy, right? It's just not good for us mentally, emotionally. You feel it, right? When you are at max capacity, after a couple of days, it starts to take a physical and emotional toll on you. And then secondly, it allows us to bump up a little bit and take some last minute Louis. We're going into some major holiday seasons here towards the back half of the year, and it's going to be pretty bad with people who are booking last minute. It gives you some buffer to say yes and no to people, to be a bit choosy. So instead of operating at 100% all the time and then 150% for the rest of the time, you're operating at 80 and then 100%. And again, how do we do this? Right? How do we allow it to operate at 80%? Well, having good policies and procedures, good boundaries, but more importantly here, having good, strong pricing in our business too.
Yeah. Well, and it can be hard, because if you're operating at 80% and if you're like me, you see that extra 20% that you could be making and you go, well, I could be making more money. I want to be making more money to save more or spend more or whatever your goals for your business are. And so it is hard to say, well, what if it's like 85%? Is that okay?
Yeah.
But it is important to know yourself and stick to those boundaries, really.
Yeah, look at your max capacity. How many visits a day or walks a day are you comfortable with doing maximum? Okay, look at how much you would earn from that. And then go, if I'm at 80% capacity, how many walks am I doing? And then maybe do a price increase so that you don't lose any money operating at 80% as you were with the previous 100% in the old price, and see if you're able to make that work. There is a way to move forward with this, but we all need space and blankness in our lives. Being constantly going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing is really, really unhealthy for us. We don't get to mentally unclench or be able to just lay down in the grass and relax for a little bit, or take a friend or family members out to coffee. That space, that in-between little place is critical for us to living healthy, balanced lives. And we tend to view it as kind of waste, right? Oh, there's 20% there that I could be doing something with, sorry. But having that in our lives allows us to live a much more fulfilled and balanced and healthier life.
Yeah, so if you have found the balance between being ruthless and being a personable relationship type business, let us know in the comments below, or subscribe to this video so you never miss one. And we appreciate you listening today. Yes. Thank you. See you.